Today, we'll be talking about brioche. This baked good is a wonderful, sweet, fluffy, buttery bread. In France, there are historically two types of this baked good: the rich man's brioche, which is 3 parts flour to 2 parts butter, and pas brioche, which holds 4 parts flour to 1 part butter. Traditional brioche is made of butter, milk, and eggs. So let's get baking. Go to the brioche page on BAKERpedia to get a basic formulation for a brioche, and you should be on your way to a wonderful loaf of brioche. This bakery product is so aromatic because of the butter, eggs, high sugar, and long fermentation times. While many of us are so dialed into producing white bread products, inserting a bread like brioche into your product mix will not only cause havoc, but you'll never produce a high-quality brioche if you don't focus on these 5 aspects. 1. Butter. 2. Eggs. 3. Osmotolerant yeast. 4. Processing conditions. 5. Egg wash. Can you imagine using a rich, high-fat solid butter and the aroma that comes from this type of butter? So be sure to use butter that has at least 72% solid fat. Why, you ask? This way your dough doesn't become sticky when you mix it. A good quality butter can also stand up to the high-speed process and give you a high-quality product. Do you know why most brioche formulas don't have vital wheat gluten? Well, mainly because of the eggs. The eggs in a brioche formula pumps up the functional protein level so much that it affects the oven spring, fluffiness, and volume of the brioche. Most wholesale bakeries would use liquid eggs from Tetra Paks, which really contributes to that eggy aroma. For industrial bakeries, separate liquid egg dispensing units have to be installed. In many instances, since this requires additional capex, many industrial bakers will make the move from liquid eggs to egg powder due to the ease of dispensing. Go to the egg topic page on BAKERpedia to learn how to replace fresh eggs with egg powder. The downside of using egg powder would be a decrease in the eggy aroma. The benefits, though, outweigh the negative. Yes, egg powder is better at emulsification and foaming. The sugar content of brioche formula is usually over 22% dry flour weight. At this amount, it creates osmotic pressure and impedes fermentation by pulling water away from the yeast. Higher levels of yeast, at about 7 to 10%, will allow a reasonable shorter fermentation time. Otherwise, use an osmotolerant yeast that is unaffected by this high amount of sugar. You can then reduce the yeast to about 1 to 2%. By using an osmotolerant yeast, you can control the cost of your formulation and improve the processing times. As for egg wash, a shiny surface is quintessential to the brioche. How do traditional bakers do this? They take a raw egg, beat it up, and brush it on the surface of the bread before baking. While this is fine at the wholesale level, it is not welcomed, nor is it food safe at the industrial level. Firstly, spraying the bread pans with egg wash prior to baking will create residues on the pans, reducing their lifespan. Therefore, most bakers spray the egg wash after the oven and after the product has been depanned. To do this, an eggless egg wash is frequently used. Yes, you heard me right. An eggless egg wash. How do you do that? Well, on the BAKERpedia egg wash substitute page, you can use the egg wash substitutes on the list to create an eggless egg wash. Finally, the 5th and last tip. Remember, it's not only about the ingredients. Processing conditions are as important, and this is why. Since brioche is so high in butter, harsh processing temperatures would have to be omitted from your process. For example, dough mixing. Your final dough temperatures need to be closer to 75 degrees Fahrenheit than it is to 100 degrees Fahrenheit in many bakeries. What happens when you maintain a low final dough temperature? You keep the integrity of the fat crystals in there. When dough temperature gets too high, you will actually see the fat separate out of the dough. You want to prevent this by keeping the temperature of the dough down. Same with the proofer as well. Make sure that the proofer is closer to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, so that the fat doesn't get separated from the product. Now, if you use a shortening product instead of butter, then this wouldn't be an issue. Lastly, watch for oven spring. With this much increase in protein content, the strength will give you a good pop in the oven. Remember, what goes up must come down. Bear in mind, your product will see some kind of wrinkling or collapse if you experience a huge oven spring. Therefore, check the thermal profile of your brioche and determine when yeast kill is at. You want to target a 45 to 47% arrival so that you can nip that oven spring in the bud. So remember, you should watch your mixing and proofing temperature and definitely your oven spring. Well, that's all for today, bakers. See you next time. Happy baking!